Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. During the recent episode of Ahsoka, there was a literal and metaphorical big Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor Easter egg for everything that's going on with Cal Kestis and Merrin. Some of you may have spotted it was literally standing right in front of our faces on the wall of the Night Sisters' ancient tower, and it might contain the secret power that Baylan Skoll says that he keeps feeling called to him on the Night Sisters' planet Peridia in that other galaxy.
Something calls to me. Can't you hear it? Something stirs here.
I know everybody's wondering when Cal Kestis and Merrin will show up in live action. Those games are already canon to the larger Star Wars universe in the Ahsoka series, so I'll explain what the plan is for doing those characters in live action. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. There's going to be a bunch of big stuff coming up. They'll cover more Easter eggs for this in Ahsoka Season 2, as well as The Mandalorian Season 4, probably in the Thrawn movie, everything that's going on with the Night Sisters right now, because they're becoming a big part of this equation. We're also doing a Star Wars giveaway for copies of The Mandalorian Blu-ray because they're releasing that really soon. So all you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and just post all your theories about the Night Sisters, Cal Kestis, and Merrin coming to live action. Careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on Ahsoka so far, but during Episode 6, when Thrawn is talking to Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati about going to find Sabine and Ezra, they're all standing outside the Night Sisters' large temple at the base. On the wall behind them, there's a bunch of runes and symbols written on it. Zoom and enhance, the language that they're written in is Ur-Khatat, which is an old Sith language. It's basically the Sith alphabet and was only spoken by members of the Sith Empire. Closer to present day, people like Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, even Darth Maul, when he was a Sith, would have all learned how to speak it during their studies of the dark side and the Sith. Basically, it's a secret Sith language that only members of their order learn to speak. Part of the reason for that, though, is that after the Great Sith War, the Old Republic banned its use. They basically made it illegal to speak or to write in that old Ur-Khatat language. They tried to stamp out all traces of it, but obviously some survived. Like in the unknown regions, you have the Exegol planet, and now it's showing up in this other galaxy. In the Old Republic, it seems like never actually went to the other galaxy. Only the Night Sisters that lived there came to the main galaxy. They introduced this old Sith language during the Rise of Skywalker movie, so it's already been canon to the Star Wars universe. It appeared on the Exegol Sith planet and is written all over the temple walls. During that, they also canonized Darth Revan from the Knights of the Old Republic games. He's depicted on the walls of the temple, and the writings mention him as well. So now in present day, Dave Filoni is saying that there was a connection between the ancient Sith Empire and the Night Sisters, like this ancient witch kingdom of the Dathmiri, and that's how their writing wound up on the Night Sisters temple during the height of that ancient witch kingdom. They also said that those ancient Night Sisters also predated the Old Republic. So this goes way, way back to the very beginning of time, basically, in the Star Wars universe, or recorded time. That also means that it predates the original Jedi Order as well, too. Recently, a fan translated the runes from Ur-Khatat, this ancient Sith language, and they read, "Praise Kujet, ruler of all, may his reign last for all time."
We've reached the tomb of Kujet in search of an astrium.
This is where we get to the connections to Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, Merrin, and Cal Kestis' character. During Jedi Fallen Order, Cal Kestis goes to a tomb of Kujet on Dathomir, the home of the Night Sisters in the main galaxy, and where Merrin has been living since Order 66. When he arrives, this is meant to be the first time that he actually meets her, so she treats him kind of like an enemy. These events were also taking place around the same time Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes took place, about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. While he's there, Cal Kestis runs into Taron Malicos, a former Jedi Master who's turned to the dark side since Order 66 and begun studying the teachings of Kujet, the other Zeffo, and the Night Sisters. So the whole idea is that this Kujet figure that's mentioned on the Night Sisters' temple wall in the other galaxy was part of the Zeffo race, who they featured during the Jedi Fallen Order Jedi Survivor games. During the height of the Zeffo Empire, long before the days of the Old Republic, he was a powerful dark side sage as part of their race who created a temple on Dathomir that Cal Kestis is exploring here that Merrin has been protecting. Just for reference, the Old Republic era started around 25,000 years ago. The original Jedi Order goes back about as far as 30,000 years ago, so this all predates that stuff. Dave Filoni is making it sound like either Kujet lived before that era, like he lived before the Old Republic, or the ancient Night Sisters just carved this into the temple after his death, and they continue to serve his Force Ghost or his Force Essence. So when we talk about Force Ghosts and what happens after you die in the Star Wars universe, the rules are a little bit different for Sith than they are for Jedi. Sith can't become Force Ghosts, but they can bind their essence or part of their essence to objects like Sith holocrons. So this might be the power that Baylan Skoll feels calling to him on Peridia, like the remnants of Kujet's Force spirit that's remained alive these many, many tens of thousands of years. And in present day, the Night Sisters might have just continued to worship him as a god. But because of the way the Night Sisters' force powers work, as Thrawn said, death, resurrection are just deceptions because they can resurrect beings. Also, you can survive after your death. Like I said, Sith can bind their essence to objects. Night Sisters can also literally resurrect beings from death, and they have this special connection to the Force that enables them to speak across time and space, also communicating with people who have died. That was what they were talking about when they were referencing seeing the threads of destiny and telling Thrawn about the weave. They look at patterns in the Force across the universe and across time. That might also be the way that they can continue to communicate with Kujet. They can either speak with his spirit in death, or they can hear his commands from the distant past. But because the temple wall reads that he should reign for all time, it just screams the concept of Night Sister zombies and just surviving after death, which gets back to the whole Emperor Palpatine meme. Have I ever told you about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? There are a lot of races that are very long-lived in the Star Wars universe, like, for instance, Ahsoka's race lived for up to 200 years. Yoda's race, people like Grogu, live for up to 900 years. The only actual immortal beings that we know right now are the Mortis gods. So when you talk about living for all time, there are only a couple ways to accomplish that, aside from just being very long-lived, is that you either become a Force ghost and your essence just survives, you're a Sith and you trap your essence or you bind it to an object like a Sith holocron, or you get raised from the dead as a Night Sister zombie. The other thing, too, is that Sith, when they bind their essence to objects like Sith holocrons, they can also take over someone else's body, too. So that would be another way for this Kujet character to come back. That's also part of the way that Palpatine was able to come back from the dead, like he transferred his essence into a new clone body. During the Mandalorian episodes, the Shadow Council called that Project Necromancer, quote-unquote. So maybe Baylan Skoll is hearing the call of Kujet's power, and he's going to use that power, or try to use it, to make some huge change across time and space, the entire universe, and that's his way of stopping the conflict and the cycle of Order 66's, as he called it, the cycle of destruction, with empires rising, rebellions forming, then happening over and over again, just as it's happening again with Thrawn's return in the Remnant Empire seeking their revenge, like it's another version of Revenge of the Sith happening again. Revenge of the Shadow Council. Either way, it's a huge deal that Dave Filoni is making this connection between the ancient Sith, the Zeffo from the Jedi Fallen Order Jedi Survivor games, and the Night Sisters' ancient empire of the Dathmiri. Based on the Star Wars timeline too, if Kujet was a Zeffo and predated almost everything we know about the Old Republic era, the ancient Sith Empire, it also sounds like they're implying that the ancient Sith culture, not the race itself, but the Sith Order, is entirely based on the teachings of this Kujet Zeffo. Like he's the true father of the Sith Order in a way, and everyone up to Emperor Palpatine have been studying dark side and Sith lore derived from his teachings for many, many tens of thousands of years. Now this doesn't explain the connection between the ancient Night Sisters and the ancient Sith who created their temples on that Exegol Sith planet. It sounds like those Sith might have been part of the ancient witch kingdom of the Dathmiri at one point, or some offshoot. The Ahsoka episodes have implied that the story of the main galaxy, like everything, began in the other galaxy with those Night Sisters in the ancient witch kingdom, and at some point they colonized the main galaxy, and I think the reason they did that initially, before these Old Republic days, like before the rise of the ancient Jedi Order, was because they were searching for more sources of their green magic force energy that only exists on Dathomir in the main galaxy. That's meant to be the source of all their power, so it's probably why they settled on Dathomir and why this Zeffo Kujet also built his temple there. Some of you may realize this though, but the Night Sisters race are humanoid, like they look pretty human. Kujet was a Zeffo, and his race obviously biologically very, very different. During the Jedi Fallen Order Jedi Survivor games, Cal Kestis learns that they're meant to be an ancient race that predated all known modern species in the main galaxy. Charting the timeline though, what happened to this Kujet Zeffo, the rest of the Zeffo race, is meant to be similar to what happened to the Infinite Rakata Empire and now the Witch Kingdom of the Dathmiri. The Zeffo were very powerful in the Force naturally, like Yoda's race, like Grogu. Their race hit its peak like these other empires, then ultimately they were corrupted by the dark side of the Force, eventually causing civil wars, until a small group of the Zeffo decided to colonize the unknown regions and live in peace. Ultimately, in the main galaxy, the dark side Zeffo just died out, but their teachings, it sounds like, lived on and survived into the ancient Sith Empire and the Witch Kingdom of the Dathmiri, who worship them kind of like their gods. The Ahsoka episodes and now these ruins make it sound like Kujet dates back to the height of that Witch Kingdom of the Dathmiri. Really cool to see Dave Filoni doing more Cal Kestis Merrin connections in live action. They definitely have a plan for doing those characters in live action eventually. And within the Cal Kestis trilogy of games, there is enough going on there, enough backstory, enough room in the story that they can just give Cal Kestis his own live-action series. Like, yes, eventually cross him over with the Mandoverse in that part of the timeline eventually when he's a little bit older, but also just give him his own series earlier in the timeline just because Cameron Monaghan is still so young in real life. They can do multiple seasons of a Cal Kestis series set before the events of Andor, or if they wait a little bit longer, they can also do it later after Return of the Jedi as part of the Mandalorian spin-offs in a different part of the galaxy. Eventually, Luke Skywalker would learn about him when he began actively seeking out Force sensitives to train at his new Jedi Academy. Grogu just happened to be the first one that he found, and during that part of the timeline, it's implied during Jedi Survivor that Cal Kestis' ultimate plan with Merrin was to continue his relationship with her and help other Jedi Force sensitives find a place where they could live out their lives. They imply that place is the Tanalorr planet just because of how well defended it is, the natural phenomena of the nebula destroying most ships that try to enter it or find a path through. It's the safest place in the galaxy for them to all stay hidden from Darth Vader and the Inquisitors, aside from just being lost in the unknown regions somewhere. There are also a lot of other threats in the unknown regions. They'll start teasing that out through Grand Admiral Thrawn's story, the Chiss as well as the Grisk. There's lots of stuff going on in the unknown regions just in general. It's this very new fertile story territory that Star Wars hasn't explored yet. So after the fall of the Empire, it just sounds like Cal Kestis plans to train new Jedi there on Tanalorr using the Jedi books to survive. They only have 3 books, so it's kind of like Luke Skywalker also trying to create a new Jedi Order using limited materials that survived Order 66. But the whole idea is that all these different figures like Grogu, Luke Skywalker, Cal Kestis all have very different ideas about how to pursue their training in the Force. Like Grogu won't turn out exactly like Yoda, he'll be more like Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, because he both became a Mandalorian, but he'll also continue training in the Force. Same thing with Cal Kestis, who also has Merrin, a Night Sister who uses the Force in a very different way, who will be helping train new Jedi. His order would look completely different than Luke Skywalker's Jedi Order. So there is a grand plan for the Cal Kestis character in live-action series and movies if everything works out long-term, and we are talking about long-term, in addition to crossing over with the other new movies and series, he would just get his own series. But remember, that's still years and years away. We still have the next game in the trilogy in about 4 years. Let me know in the comments, where's the first place you want to see Cal Kestis appear in the live-action series and movies? Would you rather see him during future seasons of Ahsoka? The main Mandalorian series might be done after the next 4 to 5 years, but Ahsoka will go a little past that, and according to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, there will be other spin-offs in that part of the timeline after Ahsoka and The Mandalorian end their run. Or would you rather see a live-action Cal Kestis series and have other characters like Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker cameo during that? Dave Filoni has just started teasing the true history of what's going on with the Night Sisters in this other galaxy, this ancient witch kingdom of the Dathmiri. So we'll learn a little bit more in the last couple episodes of Ahsoka, but a lot of that will carry forward into the Thrawn movie, to the Mandalorian Season 4, Ahsoka Season 2. Don't worry, I'll do videos for all that stuff. Click here for my Ahsoka Episode 7 video, and click here for all my other Ahsoka videos. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.